Society.
Strangers. Strangers in society.
Strangers on the internet.
The secret.
Strangers.
Society. Oh, welcome, stranger.
Secret to society. Strangers.
Society.
Welcome to the secret society.
Strangers.
Welcome back to the Secret Society of Strangers podcast. I'm Lee. I'm here with Josh and Jen, my co-hosts.
What it do?
Josh, you always go first.
She was waiting for you to
I
go
always
first.
go first. What it do?
Nice. And if you're watching, you may notice we're back to having guests. So we are very excited to have Kevin and Bret here from the Astral Travel Institute. So they're going to talk to us today about astral travel. If you listen to the podcast, you know I'm quite interested in this topic already. So having them on is a little bit of a special treat for me personally.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So if you guys want to just tell us a little bit about the Institute and how you guys got started.
Bret, take away,
thank
my
you-
friend.
thank you for coming on.
All right. Well, I've been interested in this topic for several years now. I grew up in a really strict Christian household, and I never really believed in it fully. It was a bit cult-like. So I wanted to find out for myself if there is anything out there, tangibly try to find something. And I got into this subject, and there was a Discord for one of the official Discord for the subreddit, Astral Projection. And I've been on there for several years trying to help people. I went through a bunch of books and basically learned via books and was able to have some success with that. And I was like, oh, this is awesome and life-changing, and I need to help other people with it. And on that server is where I met Kevin. And he was a natural. So he blazed in there, and he was super excited and so hyped out. And I was like, okay, this guy's fun. And we clicked, and then we decided to work together to make a website to share this information in a pragmatic way. We want it to be practical because usually when you look, especially online sources, it's kind of gated sometimes behind a lot of spiritualism and possibly religious topics, and there's a lot of misinformation on there, a lot of myth, some people saying it's demonic, things like that. What we're trying to do with Astral Traveler Institute is remove all of the woo, basically. We want to bring it back to a practical state, So that was our main thing with this website, and we developed what we call the Blueprint, which is a free course for anybody to come on, and they can sign up and then take this course, and it'll give them everything that they need in order to get out of body. Because the main thing we want to do is we want everybody to experience this. It's just too big, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do, and we're trying to get that out there, and we're just trying to build a community around it of people that are like-minded, they're serious, they want to approach it in a practical way. So that's basically why we built that site.
Absolutely. And I love what Bret said. There's a lot of fluff, woo. You got to be spiritual. You got to be religious. You got to have your chakras in order. You got to calcify your third eye, pineal gland. Sure. That's all good, and there's a place for that. But what we believe in and what we teach, it's just a skill. This is just an energetic skill that we all have the ability to perform. And at ATI, Bret and I, we sat down and we found a methodology, and we started to experiment. What works? What doesn't work? What can we add? What can we delete? And that's was the foundation of our free course, what we call the Wake Back to Projection Blueprint course. That's twice now.
I know.
That's twice.
In my background, so yeah.
Coincidence? I think not. But anyways, our methodology is a proven way to increase your chances to go out of body the first time you do it, the second time, every time you perform it, you have a high percent to go out body when you practice it. Bret and I were just excited about that because now we can teach and articulate a proven method to experience an energetic reality.
So you were saying you worked like almost like a scientific method basis to try to figure out what worked best. Can you talk us a little bit through some of like those processes and what you found worked or didn't work?
Yeah.
You want me to start with it?
Yeah.
Well, so at least in most people's lives, when they come across this subject, usually it's kicked off by some kind of event they have in their own life. Like something will happen, they're like, oh, what was that? I need to figure out, okay, what is this? And they start searching about it and they come across astral projection. If any of you have ever experienced like paralysis, sleep paralysis, anybody here?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That is basically like a jump start for this. That's like a starting point for this. And there's a few different types of methods in two main buckets, direct and indirect. So direct, those kind of techniques are usually like meditation. So when people talk about astral projection, like, oh, they can get out via meditation. You can just sit there and try to meditate and leave your body. And I mean, some people are able to do that, but it is notoriously difficult. Like most of us, at least for me, I haven't been able to do it yet. I can get kind of close and start feeling weird effects and things like that, but that's as close as I usually get. It's like I can't, there's like a barrier or something, like I can't get past a certain point. My body
it's like a
can't
barrier
fall
for
asleep.
most people.
Yeah,
I can relate. Yes.
Most people want to get out that way because it sounds the most like provocative, right? It's like I just want to, like sit there and like I meditate and boom, I'm out. But the easiest way really are the indirect techniques, which take place around your normal sleep cycle. So like, and they have a ton of different acronyms, like you can use lucid dreaming and jump out from there. But what we are focusing on is interrupting your sleep cycle to get you into a paralyzed state, because you're trying to get to a mind awake, body asleep state. Because every night when you go to bed, and we're not there for this. Usually like we're just out by the time that this happens, but your brain puts your body into paralysis in order to protect yourself. Because if we weren't paralyzed, anytime we dream, we'd be flailing around and like injuring ourselves or whatever, right? So once you're in that state, you can just easily basically leave from there. You just have to be aware of it. And every night when we go to sleep, we skip that part and we're just kind of like gone, right? And we go into like an observer state and we're just watching, But what our methodology does is basically like, to put it in a nutshell, you go to sleep generally a little bit earlier, because we're going to have you wake up a little bit earlier because you're going to have to spend a little bit of time. We give out a timer that people use. So you're going to wake up early in the morning because towards the end of your sleep cycle, your REM cycle increases. So the REM stage is pretty close to wakefulness. Like when you remember your dreams and you wake up from that, you were coming out of REM. So what we're doing, since that period prolongs over the course of the night, we're interrupting that period towards the end of your sleep cycle. So like 6 hours in or something. And you start a timer that we provide that has random intervals to try to wake you up in like a state of paralysis in that REM cycle. So it just gives you a bunch of different opportunities basically to be in that mind awake, body asleep state. So that's the basis from it. If Kevin, you'd like to add some more.
Yeah, because we knew that paralysis was a shortcut. It was like what Bret said, the gateway to astral projection. It's the shortcut. So when we were experimenting this, we understood this concept of rhythmic napping. You want to wake yourself up in paralysis. You want to be mindfully awake in paralysis, but body asleep during that state. So we started experimenting with this timer and doing different intervals until we found one that kind of works. And it kind of ramps up, the plateaus, then it suddenly diminishes to short intervals. And we started practice with that. And once we felt a different altered state of consciousness, we started experimenting. Okay, I believe I'm in paralysis. What's next? And we started to experiment, like using commands. There's 101 ways of different separation techniques. We started to play around with different ones. We started to visualize. We started to sense things. And it's interesting because when you're in paralysis, basically any separation technique will work. And that's the beauty of it. So you can find a method or a separation technique that resonates with you, and you can just consistently do it over and over. What, for me specifically, I like the rollouts. To me, it's easy. It gives me proof positive that I'm in paralysis, because you'll get exit signals. Everyone's different. loud noises, shouting. You might hear music. You might hear people talk to you. You get the vibration you hear all about in those books. But when you're moving and you can't move, but you're consciously awake, that's proof positive. Okay, I'm in paralysis. I'm in an altered state of consciousness. I'm on the cusp of exiting my body. And you just keep rolling and rolling until you hit the floor. And with me specifically, as I'm rolling, yeah, exactly, Brett. As I'm rolling, I said, hopefully I'm rolling energetically and it's not my physical body rolling out of that.
Smack on the floor. God dang it.
It has yet to happen, by the way.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, but that's what we started doing baby steps and writing it down until we had a system from A to Z. And once we were able to recognize what the hell was going on, then we could articulate it and start, again, writing down what the hell's going on. That's how we got to where we're at.
Nice. I like that you guys have taken more of a scientific approach to it rather than the whole woo aspect. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's a million ways to astral project and whatnot, but I've always been a big fan of the tried and true scientific method and see what works and what doesn't work. So that, to hear this from you guys is checking all my boxes.
Awesome. Because you got to think the organization Bret and I built institutes. We're not just saying that just for giggles here, because we have a mission and a vision. Step 1, teach as many people to go out body. Step 2, put experiments down on paper and start to follow through and write down our response. We do monthly experiments that we give off to our community. And at the end of the month, you tell us the results, we compile reports. And that's what we want, Bret and I want to do, is have answers to some of these questions versus, well, I think it works like this, or happened to me, does it happen to you?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Science.
Since it's all based when you're going out of body, here we're so used to physics, right? Everything is physics. It has there's rules here. Mm-hmm. When you go out of here, there's no physics. It's a completely different set of rules. Something. It's we have no idea what's happening. It's you're being thrown into deep ocean in a bathysphere, and you're okay, I have 5 minutes to look around and see what's going on before I'm yanked back, and it's super alien. It's really weird. We have no idea what how anything works, the mechanics behind stuff. Could be in the quantum level. I do think that, once we dig down into quantum mechanics enough, I think it and consciousness, I think, are gonna start intertwining, because outside of here, it's just all thought, thought and emotion reign supreme in creating everything. So yeah, it's really fascinating.
Yeah. So personally, I've tried to travel many times. I think I've gotten close maybe one time while meditating, and the only takeaway I have from it is that I felt myself come back in, a snap. I can't really remember.
You get slammed back in.
I can't remember where I was, but I was scared. Is that was what happened? Is it shook me for a second. I was panicked a little bit. So I could, like you were saying, Bret, the meditation aspect is hard, because now, especially after that experience, I'm very much in my head when I'm trying to do
just trying to chase that metaphysical dragon.
So I have this idea of what it's supposed to be, and I think that kind of blocks me from actually seeing what I could be potentially seeing.
100%. Very common story, Lee. Very common. And I spent 10 months every day trying to do direct. Sure, I had my energetic experiences. I came close too. But no hot dog. And over time, you get defeated, you get upset, you get angry, and it just starts, and you're in your head
now. Doubting the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Come on. There has to be a better way to do this. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. That's where I got too involved in the subreddit and the Discord, and that's how Bret and I met. Started clicking. He's very wise. He's the most senior person in that community, so he knows his stuff. And I knew we could come together in AP somehow, some way. And again, when you put that intention out there, you start to attract the resources you need to make it happen.
Yes.
You're very blessed.
It's like you start manifesting these things that you, and then it's like a big magnet where it just attracts to you, and you're like, oh, cool, everything's falling into place as it needs to be. Sorry, Jen, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're fine. For beginners or people that might be listening, thinking, so why do I want to do this? Why would I want to try this? What's
the benefit?
Oh, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's, for me, like the first thing I think of is like you're able to explore an unfathomably large space, almost completely alien to this existence, from the comfort of your own bed. It doesn't require anything. Like everybody has the ability to do this. You were born with it, right? And it doesn't cost anything really. You just have to put in the time and effort. And you can, I liked it because it took away that fear of death for me, because there was a feeling like, oh, okay, from the stuff I saw and experienced, it's like, okay, now this waking life feels more like the dream, like in a really extended dream. And over there, it's like there's things like beings that know me, like I somehow have friends, even though I have no context. Like that's the weird thing, it's to wrap your head around. It's like you have a deep feeling, it's like, I know this person, but you know, like when you meet someone in life and you're like, wait a minute, where do I know you from? Yeah. It's like a super strong feeling of that with zero contextual memory of why or how.
Just this really good feeling of like familiarity.
It's deep.
And stuff
it's like this gut feeling, And so when you're outside of here, and it's funny because in this physical life, we don't put a lot of stock in gut feelings sometimes. It's like we have a quick thought and then it's dismissed. It's like, and then it might come true. It's like we have a feeling, it's like, I shouldn't do this, or I should go this way, or I shouldn't go down this alley, or I should maybe you have to trust those feelings, and outside here, those are magnified. It's like, because that's part of how it works out there. So, people are going to believe what they want to believe, but you can do all sorts of things, like meet dead relatives, like dead loved ones. That's a huge one. Your pets that have passed on. Even.
That's the one I want to do. Forget the
it's like, everything's over there. It's like we all came from there, so you're just going back and experiencing it. It's just weird for us because in order to function here, we have to remove those memories. Otherwise, what's the point? It's like if you had access to all those memories, why even live life here? Yeah, exactly. So it's there is a design behind it, and so once you start experimenting with it and exploring, then you start to get more of a feeling of how that is.
Yeah. And everyone's going to find their own why, their own reason.
Right.
It's very, I like how AP is very individualized, because everyone does it for their own benefits, whatever that might be, and give you another perspective is illuminated insights. Like you do this consistently, like Bret mentioned, you find these beings or you're put in these situations. It's like, how's that possible? How do you know me? How come I have this sense of knowing? And when you come back to your physical body, like you start to analyze, retrospect those experiences. What does this mean? Like, what is going on? And over time, you start to have these insights that you apply. And all that insight is just a thought that changes the way you think. When you change the way you think, you get different results in life. And that's what we're all about, is getting the good that we deserve.
So that's interesting. It seems like a lot of parallels of what people that have had near-death experiences, just reminding me exactly.
It's the same thing. It's basically the same thing, just a different, it's like the different side of the same coin. And I would put lucid dreams, I think every night when we go to bed, we go out. We're just in a state that we're more observing than anything else. And it could be, we might be, and this is going off into tangent, like I'll talk about near-death experiences first. Like, so near-death experiences is basically you're projecting out of your body, but the problem is the physical body is experiencing a trauma and it can no longer hold your consciousness at that moment. So you're kicked. It's like people are just kicked out. And there's been people that come on to the Discord. There was one guy that was really good at it, and he learned from a young age because he had a traumatic event when he was a kid. He was super sick or something, and he was in the hospital, and he actually went out of body in the hospital. He was like dying as a kid, and he's in this other like upside down shadow version of a hospital, and like no one was around, and he's like, what's happening? And he's just walking around for a while. And there could be different events, like some people are floating above their body, can see themselves being operated on, right? Or like see the car accident that they were in. And it's the same, I'm trying to think of the word, the same mechanism is happening, basically. We're just, we're trying to teach people, okay, you don't need the trauma. You can just do this from your bed. You can
the comfort of your own bed. You don't need the trauma. You don't need to almost die.
Yeah, exactly.
You're consciously doing it.
Yeah.
The near-death experience stuff, that was my like jumping off point to like, not that I didn't believe it. I've always been into fringe and into like woo, but it was always just something that was there, astral projection, like, and I knew people that did it, and I listened to stories, and I always thought it was fascinating. But then I really started listening to the near-death experiences, and as I'm listening, I'm like, wait, like I swear someone said something just like that in an astral projection video. And then you start going back and forth and you cross-reference, and the rabbit hole just doesn't end.
No. Just has different little holes.
And I think, Jen, to your question a little bit before, on like why you would want to do this, and Kevin alluded to a little bit, like it's very personal. So like everyone, I think, kind of will find their reason for looking into this. Like I said, mine was the near-death experiences and just trying to understand like woo and consciousness and what's going on. And then there's people like, yeah, you said that, you know, unfortunately have a trauma and are forced out of their body. And I think there's just people that are closer mentally to that frequency all the time. And I think those are some of the people, like you were saying, that, like that guy who could just kind of pop in and out now.
Yeah.
There's something, I don't know if it's soul age or consciousness age or how many times you've repeated this life on Earth that makes it easier or harder to come and go. But yeah, I think it's very personal on why you're going to start down the road.
Yeah, because it seems like... Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I was saying, it just seemed to play off of what Lee was saying. It just kind of seems like, yeah, some people are just more in tune with that frequency than others. And then it just seems like other people are easier to do this, even if they're not aware that they're doing it. Like when I know that I can sit there and start lucid dreaming when I have the dream that I'm like sinking into the ocean, but like I feel all like the bubbles going around me. And then all of a sudden it just turns into like different like memories or different aspects, and I'm just like, oh, well, I haven't seen you in a long time, like, you know, a friend that passed away when I was really small and stuff like that. So then I just chalk that up to like, okay, well, this person was trying to like reach out to me via my dream because that's my ethereal state of mind.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
It's easier to reach out when you're in that kind of like lucid dream state rather than like the wake normal.
100%. And hence why we always teach using the wake back to bed methodology, specific the system we developed, because it evolves around the dream state. And there's all this history, text, and spiritual text talks about the veil, and you got to pierce the veil. You got to go beyond the veil, and that transitioning from a wakefulness and sleeping, that is prime time to experience those energetic experiences, to pierce that veil. And when you have those lucid dreams, when you're out of body, you're piercing that veil to see beyond the physical. And as we said before, there's no laws in physics. It's its own rules. It's its own astrophysics. It's its own astral laws that we have to abide by. And some of those laws in physics is that, yes, we can see dead people. Yes, other energies can interact with our energy. Albert Einstein said it better than I could. Everything's energy, and that's all there is to it. How come when you have an intention here in the physical, you start to attract the resources to make it happen. So in the astral state where everything's energy, including you, it just amplifies it. Everything you feel, raise your vibration, what's your vibe, what frequency you're at. It's just another way to say emotion, energy in motion. Whatever you're emotionally radiating out is what you're going to attract and have those experiences within the astral world, because that's the physics behind astral.
Intention is important.
Oh, yes.
Big time.
So what would you say to some people that were gonna try to throw you in the more woo-woo camp and say, you know, you're charlatans, none of this is real? Like, do you have a canned response? Because I'm curious, because I know we get it.
Hey, we get it all the time.
We get it all the time.
You don't believe in werewolves, do you? Like, yeah, all right. So I didn't know if you guys had any experience with like a little bit of gentle pushback to that.
Oh yeah,
Of course. I mean, they show up
Brett has
on
a lot.
They show up on the Discord all the time. It's like my parents are in a cult. I just don't bother. You know, like I'm never going to convince them. They're already set in what they believe, and it's like nothing I'm going to say is going to change their mind. All we can do is give them the tools. You know, give them the information to say, hey, go find it for yourself. Just try it. They won't. Because it challenges their worldview. So why would they go try it?
Yes.
Because they might experience something that is different, and then they would end up being confused and lose their place in life, right? So
Yeah, because it would just shake their core values.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So that's what we want to do is like, okay, you know, I'm not going to convince you of anything. Just go try it. You know, like there is something there. There's a bunch of people saying, okay, something is happening. Just go take a look. And if not, that's fine. But you know, at least try it first. That's where I'm coming from. It's like, I don't judge until I, you know, like I want to at least experience it for myself. So because if it's outside of my wheelhouse, I don't know nothing about it. How am I going to judge somebody does, you know? So like, here, teach me, I'll try it. And it's that experience, right? So all of you, like if you guys go out and try it, you're going to go out and experiencing something that's extremely alien and different from here. And you're going to draw your own conclusions about it. But it's just going out and trying it in the first place. That's brave right there, because you're going outside your comfort zone, right? So that's what we're trying to get people to do. We don't really have a canned response for it, but we're just like, hey, you know, just try it.
Just try it for yourself.
Experience it. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the best technique. Personally, again, looking into all this stuff, I don't know how to word this, the crossings of religion, I'll just say it like that, like the myths and the lore, or what do you want to call it, to religion and heaven and another place. Do you guys have any like opinion on, are you going to what we would be calling scientifically heaven? Or I know this is not, everyone probably hates this question.
No,
but
I love it.
I would like to chime in on this question, because I feel like everybody has, like, I mean, obviously, you know, everybody has their own religion and whatever, but I think it's like, if you're in this alien realm or in a place that you're very unfamiliar with, you're going to try to like recall everything and be like, okay, and try to rationalize it, be like, oh, okay, if it's really nice and, you know, clouds and angel, or, you know, your loved ones and stuff like that, then it's like, oh, this is clearly heaven. And then if it's all like, you're having like, lack of a better phrase, like a bad trip, then you're going to assume that it's hell, because like you've already been conditioned, like hell is bad, heaven is good. And if you're trying to lucid dream or, you know, astral project and you have a bad time, you're just going to assume that it's hell. And then if you're super religious and you're trying to do it, I don't think you're going to do it again. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, I agree with everything you guys are saying. It really, you know, again, like you said, it's just my perspective. And my perspective is, whatever you think, you're right.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to die and see black and you be in a box for eternity and your consciousness goes nowhere, you're right. But if you feel that you'll go to a higher realm, the astral realm, a more energetic realm above astral, where you can reincarnate and have another life, you're right. I like to think, like in my belief, you know, it's a mindset. Heaven, hell, or just mindset. You want to bring heaven to earth, and that's the way you think, by being your authentic self, by servicing, being positive, and helping the people around you. And I feel that we're energetic beings first, having a human incarnation, hence why we are able to astral project consciously, because it's a skill that we were born with. So when we die, we leave our physical body and we continue the essence of who I am, continues your soul, your consciousness, whatever verbiage you want to say, that your spiritual DNA continues to live. It's never created, it will never die. It will just reincarnate, or it will just continue to learn and grow to eventually be the authentic self that I am seeking in this physical life.
Yeah.
I love this kind of question because you can endlessly conjecture about like everything when it comes to astral projection, and everyone's going to have a different take and a different belief on it. So, because the huge problem with this is it's going to always generate more questions than answers.
Yes.
Right? Like, because I can tell you, like, so dumb. Like, during one of my really long experiences, I got called a word. I got called a dream walker. And I was like, I don't know what that is. Humans, like, we might have our own explanation of what that means. I don't care about that. I want to know what it means to them, right?
Yes.
The beings that called me that. Okay, what the heck does that mean? I've had 3 chances to ask, denied every time. We can't tell you. We can't tell you.
No.
We can't tell you.
Really?
You can't. Like, going out of body, you think that you can do whatever you want. There's a lot of like, no, they rein you in, right? Like, you got to behave yourself. Sometimes they put you through like a test to see how, like, if you can even control your emotions. Because think about it, like, you have some kid running around screaming like their emotions are flying around. You're affecting the area around you. It's not just you. It's like, when everything's based on thought and emotion, if you can't rein it in, you're going to be raining on other people's parades, basically. Well, like, there they go. There's this dreamwalker running through, rampaging, like bringing a storm cloud with them, whatever. So, but like, when it comes to heavens and hells and stuff, like, this is kind of a close to home for me because I grew up, like I said, in that very religious household. So it's like, okay, I want to figure out for myself. And I think there's an author named William Bullman. I like his viewpoints a lot. And for him, it's really interesting. It's kind of like a chicken and the egg problem. And it's almost like we're the eggs that have hatched the chickens, where every heaven, every deity, every hell exists because we've willed it in the first place to exist in the astral. Like, if you get millions of people to believe in something, truly believe, like they really think it's there, it starts creating those things. Yeah, because all that outpouring, all that thought energy is going out and like creating that thing. So as, you know, millions of people over hundreds of years or whatever, you're adding more thought complexity to something. It can gain its own kind of sentience and independence. Is it more powerful than you? I mean, I don't think so, because it's kind of like we're all the same stuff. You know, it's like, I don't buy into that, but most of the people, like, at least the stories that come out of it when people pass on, it's a lot of very Earth-like areas. Like, the only areas I've seen are very Earth-like. It's like you pass and then you're doing the same kind of things that you might be doing in life because you enjoyed it when you were alive. You're like, hey, I want to keep doing this hobby because it was fun. Or like, I want to start my own business. Even though there's no money, I still want to explore the concept of what that is. So there's a lot of very Earth-like areas, even though they're different, like the architecture is really weird or like huge, or like there's places where people can fly around, like a park just for flying, you know, like there's tons of entertainment and things like that. And it's like, I went to a dimension that was just like spring break dimension. And it was just bars, parties, fairs, people wearing hardly anything. Like, imagine regular people and take away a fear of death and inhibitions. And that's basically like the majority of people over there that are technically like dead.
Oh, so like ancient Rome during a Dionysus party.
There's areas for that. It's like anything that you're interested in, it's like you can go do that. There's people, they don't care. There's no concept of death and no concept of time. So it's like you don't need to be bent out of shape about anything, really. Like, they'll laugh at people like that there.
Now, I just want to say what Bret mentioned, how there's entities or there's like a higher power or a consciousness that kind of allows you what you can and can't do. I experienced it, Bret experienced it, and we have all these stories of people like, oh, there was a book, there was someone like holding the book, asking me questions, and I asked to read it, like, no, you're not ready for it. Or there'd be times where I'll try to like separate, I'll separate and immediately come back to body. And I'll try separate again, immediately come back to body. And that will go on for a few nights. It happened to like many months ago. And there is some kind of consciousness, because you, like Brad said, you don't want to be in the astral, like, oh, I'm all anxiety, where am I? Because everything's energy. What you're giving off, it's going to feed in other people and attract, and those other people don't want to feel that. People, there's tons of crazy concepts when you're in astral. One crazy concept is people, the astral entities, they know you're out of body. They know it. Bret asks questions, I ask questions. Do you know I'm out of body right now?
It's like, yeah, of course I fucking do.
Yeah, we know. And here's something even weirder. I asked them once, how do you know? They said, it's your eyes. They didn't go into details, but they're like, your eyes tell me that you're out of body. And now that I'm in physical, I'm integrating that experience. I do know, eyes is the gateway to the soul. Eyes is a great indicator of what's happening in your brain. Being an EMT many years ago, you always check the eyes to see if there's any neurons. Are they being dilated? Are they constricted? Are they moving? Gives you a great indication. So I was like, there must be a lot of truth to that. That it's the eyes that give us away, because they do know. It's spooky at times.
you ever felt watched before?
Oh, all the time.
I'd say that's my biggest sensation.
Yeah.
Like all the supernatural stuff, like I constantly feel like there's something watching me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It might be.
Think about this. Your guys are in physical body. You can already sense energy. So now that you're out of body, you are energy. Just think how potent and how powerful your energetic is. Again, what you think is what you're giving off. That must be a very potent energy you're giving off when you're out of body.
Yeah, because you can sit here and be physical and like, oh, my hairs on my arm are standing up, or like you can feel these things, but once you're in that astral realm, you're literally like your energy, and you have your hand on the source essentially.
Yes. Yeah, you just have how I like to describe it, you just have a sense of knowing.
Yeah.
It's just hard to describe. Like, I just have a sense. I know where I'm at. I know what's happening. Just sense it.
It'll feel I'm like there just as I am here talking to you. Like it's that real. But it's weird because sometimes like, and we can go in like, this is a deeper topic, but like it can feel maybe less than here. It can feel more dull. It's like the energy that you're in can change that experience. And you can also like, I've had points where like I'll go out of body and I'll command, because you can give out commands. It's kind of like you're demanding things to happen with that energy. So like a popular one is to command clarity and awareness now, right? Like now. And I did that and it was amazing. Like I got my vision, like my perception just went hyper real. Everything felt more real than this. Like it made this reality seem like trash after I did that. And like my ability to think, oh, this is my favorite part. As someone with anxiety and everything, like every thought was a deliberate act. There was no intrusive anything. I made the choice to think. It felt so nice. But that whole experience was like, okay, this feels more real here than back at home. So like, what is reality then? If I can experience things that make me question, like my waking life. So it's once again more questions than answers. But
I think that you alluded to it before. People that are not interested or worried about what would happen if they did astral project and their worldview. I think part of what you guys do, what we do, is that we are making ourselves be comfortable being uncomfortable. There's a lot of topics that I've gone into full skeptic or completely on my toes and aware, like, okay, what's going on here? There's got to be more to what I'm seeing, and I've walked away completely turned around and absolutely fascinated in what that was. I think also you were talking about, well, actually, I have a question. This is, I don't know if anyone will have the answer to this, but the entities or the people, the whatever is inhabiting this realm, do you guys have any theory on like who that is?
Oh yeah, we do.
You do?
Of course.
Because I have my own, and it's very elementary, but I'm curious to see what you guys say.
Wait, can you elaborate? What do you, and which entities?
So like,
Oh, which entities?
oh, so now see, I'm assuming they're all one sort. So there's other types of entities. There's multiple types.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My theory was like potentially you're running into people that are actually just sleeping as consciousness, that are kind of doing their thing in the dream world or the astral world. But you're saying there's other entities that are.
There's those. There's
fixed.
for sure those like that you were mentioning. Like there's people that have gone out and see other people that are in like a dreaming state, right? And even try to
Like
wake them and can't. Like they're just kind of doing their own thing, and like they're just kind of. It's like you're like seeing a somnambulist, right? Like someone's sleepwalking and they can't like break it out of it. They're on some kind of track, and they're just doing what they need to do. But there's a lot of like beings we would call just like, I don't know if they're currently living or not, but it's like other humans. I think it's because we're currently human. We go to human-like areas and see other humans, right? It's just what we're attracted to right now. So in those areas, the areas are packed. I mean, there's a lot of people. Yeah, tons. And I've even gone lucid in some of those situations before, where it's like I was in an observing state watching. I think, personally, I believe that most of our dreaming states, at least for me, because I don't really have dreams about real life at all. All my dreams are weird. And it's like usually I'm observing, and I think I'm observing my higher self go about its daily life. You know, like the you that you are outside of here. It's like if you think you're just you and that's it right now, it's like there's you right now are a partition of a higher part of you. It's something that is also you, and I think our subconscious is tied into that. But I'm observing myself do other things, and sometimes something will happen and I'll go lucid, and I'm in the middle of like there was one time I was sitting and having lunch with like a few ladies, older like Asian ladies at some outside, it's like an open mall kind of place, huge architecture, tons of people, and I was like, oh, I'm here, you know, like all of a sudden it's like I realized, okay, I'm dreaming, okay, and now it's time for me to ask questions. I'm like, okay, I turn to the lady to the left of me, and she's just looking at me weird, and I'm like, do we have jobs when we're dead? And I'm like screaming at her. It's like, tell me, do we have jobs when we're
now?
dead? And she's looking at the other ladies like help, like she has this help look on her face, and I'm just like tell me now, because I knew I was gonna wake up soon, and she was just like, yes. And then I woke up.
So this kind of reminds me of, we just wrapped up like our Monster Mash series for Halloween, and our last episode was about mummies and, you know, ancient Egypt and burial rites and stuff. Remember we were talking about those little figurines, the Ushabti, where they like work for you in the afterlife because you have to work in the afterlife? Yeah, so that just like instantly resonated.
I mean, it gets crazy. Like some people, some people work. And, well, those, I mean, there's another topic when it comes to that, like thought forms. So like we can create, I mean, everything out there is all creation and creativity all the time. It's constantly changing. But thought forms are basically like you create a thing like that. It serves a function. Like imagine coding, but you're using thought. And as you pour more attention and effort and energy into what this thing does, what its function is, and over time it grows in complexity as you add more to it, and to turn it into whatever thing that you want. I mean, you can create other people basically like that, you know, like your own other friends and stuff. And who knows, like I theorize that that's kind of where we came from, why population increases and stuff, because out there you can create your own family, and as you put more thought energy into them, maybe they become their own independent soul that can then start coming here. I don't know. It's like this. it's tons of questions, right?
There is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even just talking about this, I have to rein my mind in from going
Right.
to other places and other stuff I've read.
And there's people that come to us like, my goal is to make a environment, a thought form, where someone came to us saying they wanted an Elder Scroll. Like, I love this game so much. I'll make my own Elder Scroll environment in the astral world. And we're big believers of this stuff. If you just keep thinking it, put energy into it, it starts to grow. It starts to take a life of its own. And you have the ability to come back and continue the process. I know we mentioned this maybe a few moments ago. I'm a big believer. I'm sure you guys are more knowledgeable than I am when it comes to cryptos like cryptos, like Slenderman, for example. He's real because we all said he was real. We put that energy into it. So that concept is still true in the astral.
Yeah, there's a cryptid being called a tulpa, and it's like essentially you put all your thought and mental energy into this, and then all of a sudden it creates itself. So like what Brent was talking about earlier really just resonated with me. Like, oh yeah, no, if you have like 1,000 people literally thinking the same thing, then that thing is gonna essentially become real in its own set, environment.
So think about this, Josh. If we're talking about this like in the physical, and we're talking about this in the astral, there must be some truth to this. This must be.
I was just thinking that I always end up going back to like ancient humans and their structures of government and social systems, and everything seems to be based on the fact that like we're brought here by some higher power and we return to that higher power. And I feel like in between is where all the religions fill in what they want or what they think should be there. But I personally have come to the philosophy of, I think that yes, we're spiritual beings living a physical life, and we do choose our life pattern or path somewhat before we get here.
Yeah,
totally.
I agree.
I think like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, the whole time that we've been talking, because like I wouldn't say I'm a very religious person. I'm more of like I walk the spiritual path, and like a lot of like Zen Buddhism like resonates with me, like in my soul. So like this just seems like it could be a different path of like either like your experience like one of the many paths of reincarnation, or once you astral project and you're in that other realm and you're like physically energy and tapping into other energy, it's just giving you a lesson type thing.
I mean, I would love if that was the case.
Right.
Usually it's like you go out and you're just like, oh, I'm in my room for a bit. It's like you need a goal to go forward and do something, right? Because you kind of like I've been observed a lot. It's kind of like it's curious. It's like something's watching me. Like, okay, let's see what he does. But I have the freedom to go and try something, which could be denied or maybe allowed. It's like I'd have no idea what that's going to be. But it's a lot of the times it's less on the like what we would call like the spiritual and enlightened side. I haven't seen any realms that are like heaven-like or anything. It's mostly human stuff. It's like I don't know. I get taken to places like that, and I met my guides. Like you talk about spirit guides, I met mine. It's a long story, but I'll keep it short. It's like I got out of body, I opened my door, and I'm pretty sure I told my door to take me somewhere else because I like using doors. You can think outside of the box when it comes to travel, and I like saying, okay, this door will take me to X, like my bedroom door, and then I open it, and there could be like a tunnel, and the tunnel will take me somewhere else, and that's a whole nother topic, which I love talking about. But like because there's usually bends in the tunnel, you can't see your destination from the source. Okay, is there a quantum aspect involved? I don't know. But it opened up into a theater lobby, and I'm like, what the heck is this? There was nobody there. A red carpet, red like pillars in the theater lobby. On to my right, there's a concession stand. There's a popcorn machine, completely empty. And then all of a sudden, out of these, behind the pillars, came a bunch of classic-looking red Christian demon, like pitchfork kind of like red demon.
Pitchfork, forked tail, all that stuff.
They're all running at me, and I was like, okay, maybe I can summon some kind of energy to like keep them at bay. So I was trying to do that, but it was really weak. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is the wrong thing. And instead, I just kind of welcomed them to me in peace. like chill, just kind of like, you know, and like kind of a loving, kind of compassionate outward pouring of that. And they all looked at me and stopped and smiled, and they sat down. All of them sat down. And then I asked my guide to appear, and poof, just boop, like right next to me was a shorter black gentleman with a like distinguished gray beard in a gray 1920s tweed suit. And then when we were talking earlier about feeling, like gut feelings, I knew this person. Yeah, they were a friend of mine, but I have no idea how or why, just that I know them. And I had just overwhelming urge. I just hugged him, and he hugged me, and then he took me through a tunnel and deposited me in that party dimension and left me there. He ditched me.
You know what? You need this.
Yeah. He's like, okay, you want to explore here, but all those like the demon stuff, those are all illusions. It was just a test to see if I could control myself. It was called a fear test, and those are relatively common. Yeah, but it's not you can't take something for granted looking at it, right? Like, if I see demons, you're not gonna, oh, those have to be demons. No, not necessarily. It's like, and even then, it's doubtful that anything's gonna be like what you believe it's gonna be like when it comes to like religion and anything. So you have to keep an open mind. Oh yeah, when you come across this stuff.
So do you have any control, so to like, when you go into this, or is it just you project and then it's whatever maybe the beings or whatever you're allowed to see?
You want to take this question, Karen?
Yeah,
Does that make sense? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I would say it would be kind of both. I mean, let me explain that. One, it's not like a dream where you're just observing narrative, characters, storyline, and hopefully you become lucid and you can partake. With projecting, you can literally exit your body and do nothing. No one's going to come in the room. You're not going to be magically doing stuff. You, like Bret mentioned, you need intention. You need a goal, because you can be out of body like, okay, what's next? And you can literally just wait there until it's time for you to come back in the body. So we always preach, gotta have a goal. Gotta have a goal. If you don't have a goal, you might like forget what you're doing. It's like, oh, this is cool. Okay, I'm good. I'm ready to go back now. Or the opposite. Oh, this is weird and different. I'm gonna go back now. If you have a goal, now allows you to progress forward within your astral journey. And the other part to the answer is, we really don't know what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. With that being said, when we go out body, I'm not going to be afraid or timid. Can I do that? Will my spirit guide allow me to do it? Just go. Just go for it. If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, guess what? Come back tomorrow or the next night and try again. I remember when I first started being consistent. I remember one of the first few times I had a full-blown experience. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like texting Bret, was this really a projection? Was that out of body? And I'm like trying to explain to him like 5 o'clock in the morning. This is when I was, green behind the ears back then. My point being is, the first few projections, I couldn't really go outside of my room. I was mostly confined in my room, and it was how I sensed it, how I made sense, was that it was for me to get used being out of body, to understand how to fly, how to float, how to go back and forth, do my simple goals back then, look at my body, look at a mirror, try to eat something. It wasn't until maybe the fourth or fifth attempt outwards where I was able to go out on my knees. Those first few times, I knew, I was like, I'm going to go out of my room. Here's a wall. I'm going to walk through this wall. For whatever reason, I just couldn't get out. Super weird. And again, we're an institute, and people do report this. The first few times, it's blurry. The quality of the experience is low, or the environment is small. You couldn't fully have a full adventure mind for the first few times. It's fascinating.
So would you say that astral projecting and like remote viewing kind of like share the same similarities, or would you say that they're completely two different aspects?
Brett and I were talking very highly about this. They're two different mechanisms.
Okay.
Real quick, out AP, you're literally going out of body. Could you remote view out of body? Yes and no, and it comes back to the real-time zone versus astral plane and how you got there. That's why writing down a number, it's like, okay, come visit me, tell me what that number is. That is a very bad experiment, because one thing, when you're in astral realm, you're more elevated energetic-wise. So what you're experiencing is just a shadow of the physical, the energetic representation of the physical environment.
Okay.
But if you're more what we call the real-time zone, and this is where near-death experiences usually put you in the real-time zone, where a lot of things look one-to-one. You're not very vibrating high in the astral plane. You're more physical, so you see things happen real time. So remote viewing, though, there's a few theories out there, but I like to stick with the quantum physics theory.
Right.
Quantum physics says there's a unified field, the matrix, the divine matrix, whatever verbiage you want to say, but there's something that connects all of us, including your audience, right now, right here. It transcends space and time. People who are going to listen to this recording a year from now, we are connected right now as they're listening to it. So this field, since it connects everyone instantaneously, where time and space is irrelevant, you can perceive it. If that's by moving your consciousness, or you're going to an altered state, or you're tapping into that zone, into that field, you can instantly perceive or receive information. Out of body, perceiving, real-time zone, the unified field. A lot of people hear that, the unified field. So they're two different mechanisms.
Okay.
It's fascinating, though. You can learn remote viewing. That is something we can all do if you want to. Yeah.
I'd rather go completely out of body, though, personally, because
100%.
it removes
so much better.
It removes any kind of physical influence, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to be, okay, is this, I'm in the physical as well, so is my imagination here also kind of like clouding what I'm seeing? And even I've read books on the subject too, and it can be remote viewing a place, but it's like, okay, when in time are they remote viewing it?
Yeah.
Because
you don't know if it's now or if it's
matter.
like in the past or in the future. Yeah.
And that's happened before, and some of them, they describe something and it's like, that didn't even happen yet. That's going to happen, months or like a year from now.
Yeah.
And then they come back and verify that, oh yeah, it ended up looking like that in the future. So
yeah.
Okay.
One day mainstream science will maybe have some answers on some of this stuff. But it all seems right outside of where we are as a species right now. We're
it's because we're ramping up to something.
Yeah. If you were able to make money doing this, if it was a treatment you can give people and charge them for it, we would have invented it years ago, right? But if everyone has access to it and you can't control the use of it, then no, there's not going to be as much research on it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Unless they make a drug that you just take a pill and then that night you'll have an out-of-body experience. There we go.
Ayahuasca, LSD, psilocybin.
I was gonna say ayahuasca. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just stick with my mushrooms. I'm good on that.
Kevin's tried the ayahuasca. The only thing with psychedelics though, and this is a huge difference between doing it sober, psychedelics usually tend to take you somewhere and show you something, right? When you talk about control, I think there's less control in those experiences because you're just kind of along for a ride, and you get just a fire hose of information thrown at you and you're expected to decipher it later on. Whereas like Kevin said, you go out of body, you can just stand in your room for 10 minutes and not do anything and then just get yanked back, and it feels just like here, you don't have any kind of weird body high or anything going along with it, so.
Okay. I've always been curious about ayahuasca, so I would love to ask you a couple of questions, Kevin.
One of these
if you don't mind. Yeah, one of these days.
here's something interesting. It was, you know, 7 days, 6 nights. It was like a resort. You know, it's called Arrhythmia Life Advancement Center. Very popular. Highly, highly recommended. Remember, life advancement is in the name. And that's the whole point. You're not in the middle of the jungle banging on drums, having some kind of experience. It's systematically processed. They have integration course. They know what they're doing.
Right.
My wife and I, we say, her life sped up by 2 years. We gained like 2 years worth of self-growth within 1 year. It allowed me personally to buy a house. I had a bad relationship with finance, but now it's very healthy. And just I had those illuminated insights. But the point being, the story behind this is coming out of that experience, I had a burning desire to astral project. All throughout my life, I dabbled in it, read the books, came close here and there, but it wasn't until after the fact, like the last 2 ceremonies, I was like telling myself, now my astral body is separating from my physical body over and over and over again. It didn't happen. Nothing happened like that. But when I came home, I knew I wanted to integrate the ability to astral project into my identity. And that's what gave me that desire to do direct method from meditation every night for 10 months. Like I kind of alluded to earlier, after 10 months, I got frustrated, got upset, stopped reading my astral travel book, stopped talking about it. But when the student is ready, the teacher appears, I heard someone whispered something to me. I was watching the right thing at the right time. And if you're not getting the results you want, maybe it's time to try something different. And that led me down the road. That's where I met Bret. I found this methodology that turned into our course that we now teach everywhere. So ayahuasca is exactly what Bret mentioned, how I had an experience that I just followed. And you know, it's the spiritual molecule. We're taught that ayahuasca is intelligence. It's an intelligent energy that's guiding you, and it knows what you need at this moment in time. So when we were doing integrations in the ceremony, it was all about becoming our authentic self. Everything we need is already in us. We just got to pull it out of us. We got to release the baggage. We got to unload trauma. So the essence of who we are can just come out naturally. And that's the type of experience I had. That's what I can tell you.
That's why I want to do a ceremony, because like I just want to work through some mental things, and I also want to learn and grow from it, because I do think that, like, you know, like DMT, psilocybin, ayahuasca and stuff, I think they are like teachers and guides if you do it the correct way and you listen to it instead of just like, oh, I'm just going to be recreational psychedelic.
Which is fun too.
But I want to learn something and grow spiritually.
I know. I'm not
on the flip side, like I tried the smoke version, and so did my friend next to me, and nothing happened to me. I didn't go out, but my friend, oh boy, took the biggest toke I've ever seen in my life, and then he was gone. 10 seconds gone. And I had the pleasure of watching him crawl around on my floor. He fought it. That was the problem, because in his mind, when we're talking about out of body, he said he flew through a tunnel, and he was floating in a void, having an argument with a being that looked like me, telling him that everything here is fake, like none of this is actually real. And he was like, I can't handle that. Like, I can't handle my family not being real, like things like that. And he ended up naked in my bathroom thinking he had died. And he was apologizing to me through the door for having made a mess in his bathroom, having died. And it was like,
sorry I died in your bathroom, bro.
That's what he was saying. And I'm like, dude, you're fine. It's okay. And that was all in the space of like 15 minutes. But that's why I'll stick to AP, right? It's a lot more chill. There we go.
Speaking of scarier experiences, do you guys have any advice for people that would be scared, or is there anything that someone doing this should know before they do it.
Yeah.
The worst that can happen is you're going to wake up. You wake up. We go over a ton of myths. Like we have another course that talks about, like, we have a whole episode dedicated to it. So like, you're not going to get, possessed or anything like that. Your soul's not going to get lost. That was a huge one. Like, there's so many urban myths, right? Like, oh, your silver cord will get cut and you'll die. No.
Yeah, right.
Say you're tethered.
Dude, I haven't even
Everyone
seen
says
my
it's
silver
tethered.
cord. It's not. It's
Yeah.
just a visual representation of your current, like, inexorable tie to your body, your physical body. That's it. It can't be cut or anything like that. I mean, when you die, it'll be released. That's it.
Yeah.
So there's all these things. It's like you don't need to be afraid. Bravery is really rewarded when it comes to this practice. Like, for me, it took me to a point where it's like I kept trying it. Like, every nightly I was doing affirmations. I was writing my dreams down and stuff like that. And it got to a point where I took on like an attitude that was like, F it. Like, this is something I need to experience. And that's when it started kicking off, because I got over that hump of being afraid of what I was going to see, because it's all fear of the unknown, right?
Right.
And I'm horrible with fear of the unknown. I still have a problem with it. But once you get to that point where you're like, I just don't care if I die anymore. I just want to see it. And it's like, okay, like, sure, welcome here, come on in,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the basis of it. When we can tell people, it's like, you're just going to wake up if you get afraid. It's not a huge deal. Nothing's going to hurt you. You're an energy being. It's like, you can't be destroyed. You're just, you might see
It can't
something
be created
freaky.
nor destroyed.
Yeah, you might see something weird, but it's not going to be a big deal.
I think this is a great time to talk about the guardian threshold.
Oh yeah.
And Brett's been alluding to it all episode here, where there are times you will be tested. And to make sure, what do you say, Brett? You must be this chill.
You must be this
Right.
chill to ride, right?
Well, it just goes back to what you guys were saying earlier. Like, you don't want somebody to be in this realm or this space and then they can't control their emotions and stuff like that. And when you said that, it just reminds me of like somebody jumping into like a crystal clear like lake, and then all of a sudden all these ripples and everything, and then everybody else is having a terrible time because you're making all these waves.
That's a great
Good
analogy.
analogy.
Yeah. When it comes to the guardian of the threshold, though, what Kevin's talking about is like, have you heard about, when people are paralyzed, a paralysis demon? You've heard about those,
or like
right?
a Hat Man and stuff like that.
Hat Man, shadow people, like paralysis demons, something like gargoyle looking things sitting, like you have a paralysis and you look and there's something creepy right in your face. So it seems like that there is kind of like an automatic mechanism that can test people when they're in that state. And it's not like an intelligent being really, but more like a application, like it's some kind of like anti-cheat software. So if you go out of body and you're paralyzed and you wake up and you start freaking out, it might take that emotion and use it to make you wake up. And that's basically what's happening. Like, and it's happened to me before, where like I went out of body, I didn't even realize it. I thought I had woken up in the middle of the night just in my room. No, I woke up and I was like, oh, my shoulder feels weird. Like, what's that? And it started making me anxious, and then something freaky happened. And I don't know if you want me to say it or not? I mean, it's Halloween.
Yes, you can say
Go for it, yeah.
So, and I don't want to scare anybody away from this, but so I woke up and I was like, oh, there was something in my shoulder, like an energy or something building up. And I'm like, what's that? And I sit up, and I was anxious about it. And as I was sitting up, my wife laying next to me starts to sit up, facing away from me. So just like that. And I was like, but I didn't think anything of it. I thought I just gotten up. Like, sometimes she gets up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, and so do I. And so I was like, oh, hon, do you need to go to the bathroom? And then this like just did 180 and like instantly was on me, choking me. Wow. Like just choking, like, and I lost consciousness, or like I'd lost vision. So like this thing just like that and was on me, choking me, and it was supposedly my wife. And then she whispered like a pet name in my ear, really creepy, like in a super creepy voice.
Creepy as shit.
But I was like, but instead, like normally, because I've experienced like going out of body before, so I was like, oh, like at this point, it's like I lost vision and everything. I was like, oh man, I was out of body, and that was like, I just realized I'm like, I just screwed it up because I was anxious. I didn't even know, and I'm like, well, this is ruined, and I just decided to wake up. So it's like it's creepy and everything, and it didn't hurt, but it was just like, it's startling. and that startle, that like
jumped you back to your body.
it jumps you back, and that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to it tests you, right? It uses your emotion against you to see if it can wake you up. Because if it can wake you up, you don't have enough control.
Yeah, then you're not ready.
Yeah, and that's why everybody sees different stuff. Like when it comes to the paralysis demons, it can look like different things to everybody because it's not really a being. And it's like, I think that's what people get afraid of. It's like, oh, there's a demon in my room. No, probably not. It's like an illusion. It's like a thought form. It's reacting to you. So that's, yeah. So when it comes to that, just don't be afraid. Kevin hasn't even seen anything yet. I think most people won't.
Like, what?
It's like super rare that you see any stuff. It's super rare. It's rare. So like, I am just, I don't know, I'm different. I'll see weird stuff. It's fine. But
how I like to explain this aspect, like the mechanism, like how I see the mechanism, why you'll see something versus not see something. It's because when you're in paralysis, the mind awake, body asleep, you are in an altered state of consciousness. In this state of consciousness, where you're like that quasi state about to pierce the veil that we spoke about earlier, you're not dreaming, but you are dreaming. Not projecting, but you are projecting. But you have one foot in, one foot out. Because of that, whatever you think, whatever emotional state you're in, it's going to manifest itself. And I'm no exception. The number one challenge people need to face when they learn this practice, this skill, is to get over your fear of projecting. And a lot of people don't. That they're fearful going into it, hence why their experiences are so quick and might not be the full experience they were thinking it could be. And they start to see these demons, these entities, these monsters, because I feel vibrations, I can't move, this is all new to me. I'm scared. I never experienced this before. And they open their astral eyes and their physical eyes. I'm like, what's that over there looking at me? And go back to body. But then they'll come back, okay, this is my experience. I'm good.
Yeah, I dipped my toe in it. I'm all right.
Yeah, I was like, no, it's about being educated. So when I practice, when I go through my practice, I remind myself, hey, no, this is going to happen. When this happens, I'm going to do this. And it's just a manifestation of how I feel. You got this, Kevin. And that's why I tell myself I have yet to see anything. And every time I say it, I hate saying it. Because you say what you want. And me saying not seeing it is saying I do see it.
Kevin,
and then all of a sudden you're going to see it.
The recent experience you had, Kevin, when you're in that mine cart and you're like, let's go.
Oh, yeah. It was like a week ago. I was doing an adventure, and I was like in a mine cart. I was like in a vehicle going like in a tunnel type environment, and I had this like sensation, like something bad is going to happen. And I'm conscious. I'm seeing everything, and I told myself, like, Kevin, this is it. You're going to see that. You're going to see the garden of the threshold. Like, just prepare yourself. And as I was mentally preparing myself, I was like, F it, let's do this.
Just full send.
Like Bret said, I'll just come back to body, and my teaching tells me you got to lean into it because it's going to show you something. And I was like all excited. I said, let's do this. And as it was progressing, my vision started to get diminished. I started getting heavy. I started getting pulled back. I came back to body before anything progressed. True story. It happened like a week and a half ago.
But that attitude is what you need, right? You're just like bring it on kind of thing. Show me what you got and just kind of just push through it.
It's like Lee with wanting to see a UFO.
Yeah.
He wants it so bad.
Whatever it is.
I didn't even tell you, Josh. I was so tired when we came home from Scotland and Ireland, when we took the Uber back from the Philly airport. And I'm like trying to stay awake because I just feel weird falling asleep in the Uber. And I'm looking at this dot in the sky, and it's not moving. And like now I'm sitting in the front seat, and the Uber driver's there, and I'm like trying to play it cool and like keep like looking and keep watching it. I'm like, is it moving? Because it's a plane, right? I'm telling myself it's a plane. And I got home, and it was like one of the planets. It was like Venus or Mars, like really bright that night. So nope, still no UFO.
Still no UFO.
No.
But on a serious note, there is a protocol out there to consciously summon them.
Yep.
We get a group of people all sitting together.
CE5.
CE5.
CE5, there you go.
Yep.
It's true. I believe it.
I mean, I've seen a bunch of them, but the thing that, because I was really into UFOs for a long time, like before all this, not so much anymore. And I had a bunch of sightings, but most of it I attribute to looking up. You'd be surprised how many people don't look up.
I know.
Nobody looks up. Me and my
I'm the
wife
guy
are
that's
all
like
the best
that all the time.
Dude, yeah. As soon as I get out of my
it so
car,
bad.
as soon as I get out of my apartment, out of my car, I'm looking up, and that's and sometimes and it's the same. See, the reason I bring this up is because it shares something with astral projection. It's the seek and you shall find it aspect of it. So with astral projection, if you really want to go out of body, you got to research it. You got to consume it. You have to keep trying every night. It's set those intentions. And if you want to see a UFO, it's the same exact thing. You have to set those intentions. You have to keep trying. You have to keep looking up, and eventually it'll happen.
Keep
Just
looking.
keep looking up, Lee. Just keep looking up.
Truth is out.
I think, though, your guys' work and your institute actually really helps with all the things we just talked about, the stigma, the fear of it. I think it's very nice to have one place to go and get valid, reliable information. Because I'm sure all of us know, go on the internet and you Google and
As I
you
did.
end up
No, it
anywhere.
was terrible.
It was, I was,
So I think you guys are doing something that's very important.
Thank you.
That not a lot of people, I think, that aren't already interested in it are seeing. So I hopefully in the future you guys can get that out there even more, and we can get everybody
Spread the good word.
projecting.
Yeah.
Get everybody
love that.
projecting.
I like that. 1%.
So, just a question to you guys: how do you feel how has this changed your life, or has it? I'm sure it has. But
It's like broaden your your expansion on things instead of having a narrow, this is just the physical.
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, that is a huge part of it. And what I think about it, it's I feel like I can slow down. I feel like I chose to come here and experience this. Outside of here, there's no concept of time. I don't have to care. There's no rush. I don't have to rush spirituality. I don't have to rush enlightenment. It'll happen when it happens, kind of thing. That's the biggest one for me. It's I don't have to be so hard on myself in this life, because I'll have other opportunities, or I might not. That doesn't really matter so much. It's a choice. I don't think there's a forced reincarnation or anything. I think we made an active choice to experience this, and we'll do it again if we want. But time isn't an issue at all, and that it takes a big burden off my shoulders, I think.
Yeah.
And with me, it goes back to what Josh just mentioned as well, and Bret, is it gives me proof that we are energy, and things around us is energy. Everything is energy. That's all there is to it. We hear spiritual laws, energetic laws of the universe. Doesn't matter what verbiage, we say them all, so it might resonate with people who say different verbiage, but it's all the same thing. Law of attraction, great example. Yeah, whatever I think I can attract. Yeah, that's how it works, but it goes beyond thinking. It goes about what you're vibrating at, your emotion. You gotta already be at the answer. If I want $1 million, I gotta think and feel I have $1 million already, and be in that state of mind. 24/7. So having this astral projection practice in my experience just validates that those laws is real. What I think is real. My words is a magic wand. My mind, I gotta protect it like 4 eyes. Just validates that I'm an energetic being having a human experience. And because I know that now I can practice these spiritual laws of the universe all the time. If I want a better relationship, I want more guidance, I know how to do it. Gotta be here mentally, I gotta be here emotionally, and I can start to put the action behind it to attract the resources. This isn't hoo-ha, this isn't pseudo-science. It's real science. It's spiritual science. And he proves it. Yep, that's it.
Totally.
God, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm on the path, I'm trying, but just in researching, I know, Josh, you know, the law of one has become a big part of my life. So I feel, like you were saying, Bret, like way less rushed. I'm way less concerned of what's going to happen after I die. And I'll say that I feel way more connected to humanity. And I'm much more willing to give people grace in like everyday situations, and I'm a little bit more understanding, just stepping back and looking at this like, oh, okay, this is way bigger than what we're doing here in the physical. There's other dimensions and layers to this world and life that we're going to end up seeing, hopefully. So it's definitely allowed me to take a step back.
Yeah.
Right. Is there anything you guys want to say to the listeners? Any messages, anything you guys got coming up?
Anything like you just want to plug or anything like that?
Go ahead, Bret. You're good at it.
Well,
No
I
pressure.
mean, we're looking for more people. Like, we want more people that are serious in this to come join our community, to try the blueprint, to give their feedback, you know, because we really want to improve it and to have it evolve into something, because we want it to work for the majority of people, right? So we need people to come in and test it out. I mean, so come to astraltravelerinstitute.com and check out the Wake to Projection blueprint, you know, and if you enjoy that, we have other things that we offer. If you want to stay and give those a try, then that'd be amazing, because we really want to build up this community. Eventually, we want to get to a point where we have like almost like MUFON, but for experiences, right? Like,
that would be cool.
Because the only way we can really test is by having a bunch of people doing this at the same time. You know, like everybody, just tell us about your room. It doesn't have to be something, and like getting all this information, then we can start to parse it. You know, like what sticks, how these things work, and that's what we really want to do.
Yeah. So if you want to be a pioneer or be on the forefront of astral projection, out-of-body experience, or alter state of consciousness, or just consciousness in general, this would be a great place to start your journey and actually contribute to the science. Maybe one day your name will be in this.
There you go.
Nice. And all the links and stuff will be down below. So if anybody's interested, you guys take a look at their website and stuff. So
Thank you.
thank you guys. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
This was awesome.
Great questions.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you guys are doing. Like I said, I think it's very important.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's very nice.
All right. Say goodnight then, otherwise. Let you guys go enjoy your evenings.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for having us on. It was a pleasure.
Of course.
You
Yeah.
guys have a good
man.
one. Hopefully, you guys try the blueprint. Tell us
I'm
about
joined.
it.
I just have
I'm
to fully
joined.
commit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Tell us about it. Feel free to email us too.
Oh, absolutely. I will. I'll let you know.
Man.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you guys.
Well, thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah, you guys as well.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
guys
Good night.
later. Be well.
You as well.
And
I enjoy the fact that they're taking like a scientific approach to it and just not going like full in like woo,
Yes.
which is kind of like a breath of fresh air for me, because like every time you hear about astral projection and this sort of topic, you hear about like the woo side of it, or like you have to like meditate or be enlightened and stuff. It's like, no, dude, like people experience this and they might not even know it. So it's like they're giving people a platform and a database to like share their experiences, and then they correlate with the experience.
Because my Googling, as somebody just trying to research this, I
It's
didn't
hard.
come up with
It's hard.
anything that was, I mean, I was instantly just like scam artist or just,
Yep.
you know, like, I was
Yep,
just like,
yep.
that is so out there. I can't even, you know.
Yeah.
And
Fathom
so,
it.
yeah, I mean, it was just so, just you could tell right away, even for somebody that didn't know a ton about it, that it was just starting off wrong. So what they're doing is absolutely, but I hate that they didn't come up first for me.
No, but that's
Right.
You know, I hope, they could, start getting that traffic, because, you know, after going through pages and pages, and some of it just got sillier and sillier as it went, you know, to me. But,
Yeah, then it
They-
just
you know,
turns a
other
person off of it, and you're just like, why would I even like begin to waste my time researching this or like putting stock into it?
Exactly, because I think like there were like 3 that I read, and it was like, well, if you're an anxious person, and I'm like, doesn't that wipe out like half the United
Everybody.
States? I was like, then if I'm reading that, then I'd be like, oh, well, that's just not for me because
Yeah.
anxiety, we're like besties, so
Totally.
we have been forever. So yeah, so I really like I like the way that their approach is really good.
Plus, I
They're-
just got a really good vibe from the both of them. Like, they're just
Yeah.
like good
Good
people.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to what you were saying, Jen, there is a lot of gatekeeping in like
Mhm.
these communities, and there is a lot of like people that will make you not feel like you are good enough or special enough or have what it takes.
Right.
And it's very nice to see that they're grounded. Their website is all the information on it. Like you don't have to just start pulling out your credit card as soon as you get there to find out what they're all
Right.
about.
Yeah.
So if anyone is interested, I highly recommend the Astral Traveler Institute for such things as astral travel.
Yeah. And then we'll have the link down below, right? You said?
Yep, I'll have a
Yeah.
link down below.
Yeah. And if anybody out there that's listening has had an out of body experience or, an avid astral traveler, hit us up at SSOSpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear about it. And I'm sure,
absolutely.
the boys at the Institute would love to hear about it also.
Yeah, I'm sure. So that's it for our guests. It's so nice to be back to guest. It's so nice to have like a sit back episode.
And you just
Get to
ask questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's real nice. Hopefully we'll be getting some more guests. I've been talking to people, so we'll see.
Mhm.
Then I think our next regular episode will be you, Jen.
Yeah. Jen's
Oh, yeah.
mandate.
Yep.
Bringing
Looking forward to it.
bringing some historical true crime.
I'm all about
I'm
it. I love that
excited.
we've kind of branched into that.
Taking it
and
way
so-
back.
I think it may be too late if you're watching this to go vote on our Monster Mash. You can go watch. I may, you know what? I'll put this out Tuesday. I will wait till next Friday to have a final call. I'll give everyone a valid amount of time, so we're not rushing the mummy, so he doesn't
Yeah.
feel like he didn't have a chance.
Exactly.
So so if
I
you're
can't,
watching
I can't
this,
wait to see.
I know.
let us know. Josh, there's a new werewolf movie out. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Oh,
Or the trailer. I'll send it to you.
okay, cool.
Cool.
I'll check
but
it
I don't
out.
know.
You know me, I love my werewolves.
That creature.
Oh, he's a sleeper.
It's the creature, people.
I know he snuck in.
Thank you
All
for
right,
listening.
everybody. Thank you
If
so
you'd
much for
like to join
listening.
us as a guest,
If you want to be a
suggest
guest, you can
topic,
email us
or
at
have a story you want us to share,
SSOSpodcast@gmail.com.
we'd love to hear
Share your
from
stories
you.
with us. We love to
Email
hear
us
it.
at SSOSpodcast
Like and subscribe.
@gmail.com.
Comment.
For more
Hit that
behind the scenes
notification bell.
updates and exclusive insights
Ding.
about SSOS, make sure to follow us on social media.
All right, guys.
And don't
Thank you
miss
for
out on
listening.
the fun. Be sure to subscribe to our
Bye.
YouTube
Keep it
channel.
strange.
Again, thank you for listening to the Secret Society of Strangers podcast. This show is an independent production, researched and crafted by our passionate team. But we couldn't do it without all of you. We truly appreciate your support. Embrace the unknown, for not all secrets are meant to be kept. Farewell, strangers.